All right, on this part of the notes, we're going to really talk about substituting. We've talked about substituting numbers before, but now that we have introduced negative numbers and integers, we're going to talk about how that's going to look and how I want you to do it so that we can make sure we're getting the right answers. This is a quick review. We did touch on absolute values before, but it was more just single numbers, absolute values, but just kind of building off of what we did the other day. We can now take our rules of adding and subtracting integers and taking it a step further to simplifying these if we did not have a calculator. 8 minus 7, the signs are different, take the difference. The absolute value of 1 is 1. Again, positive 7, negative 8. The difference between them is 1. 8 is the bigger number, so it's negative 1. So the absolute value of negative 1 is also 1. In here, we can simplify. There's that double sign, so this would be negative 10 plus 4. The signs are different, so you take the difference. So that would be a negative 6. And the absolute value of negative 6 is 6. And then here we have another double sign, so the absolute value of negative 4 plus 10. And then the signs are different, so we take the difference. So the difference is 6, but it's a positive because the 10 is the bigger number, and the absolute value of positive 6 is 6. So just kind of a quick review. Again, Desmos Calculator has the bracket symbols that we can use those to solve for that, but as far as the concept goes, just a quick review. All right, so now here's where substitution, this is why I want you guys to use parentheses, but this is where it can get a little tricky. All right, so I need you to bear with me. When we're substituting, especially negative numbers, and this is why I'm having you do it for positive as well, we have to include the sign that's already in the regular problem. That's why we do it in parentheses. So for this particular example, this negative is part of the problem, and so is this. And here is that negative here, and here is that negative here. So again, when we're substituting numbers, I like to put them all in parentheses, but leave everything that's in the original problem rewritten. So when we see this example, I take a negative 3, I put it in parentheses, and the negative 7, and I put it in parentheses. These are still there, but now we have our double signs. So we can change those to positives down here. See the negative, negative, and a negative, negative. So it becomes a positive 3 and a positive 7. Signs are the same, so we get our answer as 10. So these are practices with substituting, and there's going to be a worksheet that goes along with this too. We go ahead and pause here and practice, or I'll do a couple, and then you guys practice on the last ones. So if I'm looking at this, r minus t, that minus is already going to be in that problem. So now we are inputting, in parentheses, a negative 2 and a negative 7. So negative 7 for r, and a negative 2 for t. Now here we have our double sign. The negative, negative becomes a positive. At this step, now that we're simplifying it, if we want to, we can enter it in the calculator like this, we'll still get it, but we can now call this negative 7 minus, and a minus is a plus 2, and now we're seeing that our two terms are opposite signs, a positive and negative, so we take the difference, so that would be 5, and the bigger number is a negative, so negative 5 would be my answer. All right, let's go ahead and substitute this next one. We have a minus in the middle. So for t, I'm going to substitute a negative 2. I'm going to put that in parentheses. And then my r is negative 7. A lot of times the biggest mistake I see students making is they'll put a 7 in for r, but just keep the one negative, when in actuality there's 2, which changes the problem. Now as we merge our signs and do this first round of simplifying, I can call this negative 2 because nothing changes there, and then a minus and a minus becomes a plus 7. Signs are different, so we take the difference, which is 5. The bigger number is a positive, so it's just positive 5 for my final answer. All right. Now, if I'm not writing out the signs first, again, I'm going to make these red so you can see here's the original problem with these minuses in here. All right, so I'm going to need to write down the minus, and then I substitute the t. So in this case, my t is negative 2. I'm going to go ahead and put that in parentheses. Now I have a minus that's in the problem, and the number I'm substituting in is a negative 7. I'm putting that in parentheses. Now we have two sets of double signs here. So we can see the negative negative, which is a positive, so that becomes positive 2. I have a negative 7, which is also a positive, so positive 7. Now, when I'm separating, when I have these signs in between numbers, you notice how I note that this is a positive 7. If I didn't note that, you might think it looks like 27. And I don't need to put the plus here because we assume that that's a positive. But you could if it helps you. Now we combine our terms. We have two of the same sign, so we add them and keep the common sign. So this would be 9. All right. And if you're pausing along the way, you'll see how it goes after this. Now we have a bunch of minuses, and this is where it gets just kind of confusing. But I'm going to go ahead and do it without the different colors. So I have this negative, and then my R is a negative 7, minus parentheses, and then I have a minus again, then I have a negative 2, so in parentheses, negative 2. And then I'm going to close out that parenthesis. That's a lot. All right, I'm going to kind of highlight the originals. Right? We have this, this, and that. So you can see, here's the original minus in the problem, the other original minus in the problem, the other, this is the original, this is original, and this is original. So you can see what we substituted in was just a negative 7, negative 2. Everything else is the same. Substitute that R and that T. Whoops, this was one of the originals too. That's that one. All right, so now let's go ahead and try to simplify this. Again, from here, you could put it right into your calculator. So here's a double sign. So that's going to be a positive 7. Here's another double sign. Or actually, we would do inside here. So we got a double sign here. So minus, and then parentheses. This becomes a plus. All right, now we have one more double sign. We can go here. Minus and a plus. They're opposites. That becomes a minus. And then we get 7 take away 2. These signs are different. This is a positive. That's a negative 2. Positive 7. So the difference between 7 and 2 is 5. And 7 is a bigger number. So that is our final answer. All right. This is a lot. But we have to make sure that we are putting in that sign in here. And when we do a parentheses, I think that helps. So more often than not, I'm going to see kids put minus 7 minus parentheses minus 2, which you can see is not the same as this. We're forgetting, an extra minus here. We're forgetting an extra minus here. It just becomes a mess. So I know this looks like a mess down here, but as far as us substituting and getting the right answer, I think it's going to help you.